Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael and I'm now a second year medical student at UCLA. In today's video, I wanted to talk about what I did to graduate in 3 years instead of 4, and some of the pros and cons of going down that route. I'll spend the first half of the video talking about what I did to pull this off, and then the second half talking about whether in hindsight this was a good idea. For context, I was a biochem major with a minor in music and went straight into med school after college. In this video, I'll be giving a general overview of graduating early that should apply to all majors, but if you want a video on the specifics of how I also got into med school while graduating early, let me know in the comments. As usual, there are timestamps in the description. Alright, so the reason I was able to pull a lot of this off was that I started planning for it back in high school. My brother had finished an engineering degree in 3 years, so I figured if I planned it right, I could probably do that with what I wanted to do. So the first thing I did was take a look at some colleges' course transfer policies and take all of the dual credit or AP courses that seemed like they might be able to apply toward a degree in the future. I didn't go to a prep school by any means, I was at a rural public school, but fortunately we still had a good number of college credit options available. I was also able to set up some independent studies my senior year to study for AP tests that weren't offered by my school. The important thing with how I chose these classes was that they needed to be able to count toward the gen ed requirements or the course requirements of my future degree, otherwise I'd be better off taking something else. Okay, so for those college credits to be worth anything, I had to choose a college where they would both transfer in and apply toward my degree. More on the college decision-making process in another video and maybe a little bit in the second half of this video, but you can typically find a college's transfer requirements and degree requirements on a college's website or on a website like Transferology. A big part of my college decision-making process was based on this, and because of that, I was able to start college with 46 credits that had successfully transferred in. You need to be a major planner to pull this off at most schools. Advisors typically won't be prepared to put together a 3-year graduation plan because it's just not a super common thing to do. I spent so much time on my own looking through the degree requirements and when certain courses were offered and which prerequisites I needed for each class. And if I hadn't done this myself and laid out my schedule on my own, I would have undoubtedly run into some scheduling issues down the line. You have to kind of take matters into your own hands and not just trust everything your advisor says if you're really set on trying to make this work. This applies to pretty much every career path you could go down, but you need to use your summers wisely. If your career really values internships, then you should be applying to as many as you can for both summers so you have a better chance at getting one. I think a lot of people end up wasting their first summer of college not really doing much, but that's not really an option when you only have 2 summers instead of 3. You might even need to take summer classes on top of an internship. Personally, I spent my first summer doing full-time research and taking 2 online classes on top of that, and then my next summer doing a different research internship, taking the MCAT, and applying to med school. This is probably more extreme than most career paths would require, but my point is that you can probably find something that's more valuable for your time than working a minimum wage job, especially considering all the money you'll save by graduating a year early. Speaking of money, let's talk about whether I think graduating early was worth it as I look back on it. I'll put the disclaimer out there that I'm only a year out of college, so my perspective on this is bound to keep changing over time, but I'll give you my thoughts having done this fairly recently. Okay, so the obvious benefit behind all of this is the amount of money you can save by not paying an entire year of tuition, room, and board. I was fortunate to have most of my tuition covered by scholarship because of the school I chose, but there were still some fairly hefty room and board charges I had to consider. Now, that being said, for some people this wouldn't be an incentive at all. If your parents are flipping the bill for all 4 years of college, or you're getting a full ride essentially in need or merit-based aid, then there's not much point to taking a whole year off the college experience and rushing through it. This is also a lot more doable at a school that's not as elite because the transfer policies typically aren't as strict. I'll save all my gripes on why I think you shouldn't choose a school just because it's elite for another video. But the main point is that if you're going to be expected to pay for any of your schooling or you want to save your parents some money, then this path would financially benefit you. In my situation, I was also able to take some of my outside scholarships and get them to apply the 4th year funds to the 3rd year of school, so that pushed the financial incentive even more for me to graduate early. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely took on some pretty stressful schedules and took on some course loads that were a little bit insane. It wasn't as bad as some stories I've heard, but I did put myself through a lot of school-related stress to get through it in 3 years without sacrificing the quality of my education. And if you want to go this route, this is going to be a part of your life, so it's just something to be prepared for. The only other pro I can really think of is that you do get a head start on your postgraduate plans. Personally, I knew I had 8 years of school coming after undergrad, so that was an incentive for me. But you're also missing out on a ton of college experiences that come with staying at your school for the full 4 years. The hardest part for me didn't really happen until after I graduated, to be honest. I was really fortunate that I was able to make time to prioritize friendships while I was in college, even while trying to maintain good grades and handle a tougher course load. The friends I made in college remain some of my closest friends still today, but they were on a 4-year plan while I was on a 3-year plan. So when I graduated and moved away, but all of them were still in college, the FOMO kicked in big time. I missed out on so many opportunities to hang out with everyone this past year because I was thousands of miles away pursuing my career while they were still living the college life. College is and should be so much more than just taking classes to pursue a degree. And I think that's the main reason why I'm hesitant to recommend that someone cut it short of the full 4-year experience. Also, it would have been so much nicer to transition into adult life at the same time as all my friends were, rather than trying to do it a year earlier and figure out everything on my own and then watch them do it a year later. But again, that situation might not apply to everyone, especially if you have a lot of friends across a lot of different graduation years. Another con is that you just can't take as many classes when you're on a 3-year plan. My school had some really good med school focused courses that I didn't get to take because I graduated early. I still was able to fit in like a cadaver course and a really good physiology course, but I missed out on a histology course and an immunology course, both of which would have been really helpful in med school. The amount of valuable courses like that will vary from school to school though. I was fortunate to go to a school that put a lot of effort into really preparing us well for med school. I'll be honest, the only thing really keeping me from saying that this was all a mistake is the fact that the world went into a raging pandemic during what was supposed to be my senior year, and I'm really grateful that I was able to make the big life transition of going into med school fully in person rather than trying to do a lot of it on Zoom. But if that hadn't have happened, I think I would have always regretted all that I missed out on by rushing through college in a way. But each person is unique and has a unique situation and goals, so that might not apply to everyone. Those are all my thoughts for now. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has been helpful in some way, and stay tuned for more videos to come.